The night Sarah Mitchell realized her life had narrowed into survival came quietly. No dramatic breakdown. No tears. Just exhaustion. She stood in her small Ohio kitchen, one sock missing, a sink full of dishes, and a 5-year-old boy asleep on the couch with a superhero blanket pulled up to his chin. She was 34, a single mom, and every dream she once had felt packed away in boxes she no longer had the strength to open. Her son Ethan was her world. Everything she did was for him. But loving him didn't erase the loneliness. It didn't silence the nights when she wished someone would ask how she was doing. Ethan's father had left years ago, not with cruelty, just indifference. An emptiness harder to explain to a child than anger ever could. Since then, Sarah had learned to do everything alone. School drop-offs, late shifts at the community center, homework battles, doctor visits, bills. Always bills. Across town, Mark Reynolds was learning the same lessons from the opposite side of heartbreak. At 38, he was a single dad to his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving behind silence so loud it echoed through their house. Mark wasn't angry at the world. He was tired of it. Tired of pretending he had it together when most nights he sat on the edge of Lily's bed long after she fell asleep, afraid that if he left the room, she'd wake up missing her mother all over again. Mark worked as a high school history teacher, the kind students trusted but never really knew. He packed lunches with handwritten notes. He learned how to braid Lily's hair through YouTube videos and trial-and-error mornings. Love wasn't the problem. Loneliness was. Love had nowhere to go. Their worlds collided on a rainy Saturday morning at a school fundraiser neither of them wanted to attend. Sarah was there because Ethan's kindergarten teacher had begged parents to show up. Mark was there because Lily was selling cookies with the seriousness of a CEO closing a deal. The gym smelled like coffee and damp jackets. Children laughed. Parents smiled too widely. Sarah bumped into Mark near the refreshment table, spilling coffee onto his sleeve. "I'm so sorry," she said, mortified. "It's okay," Mark replied, surprised at how much he meant it. Their eyes met for a second longer than necessary. Not sparks. Not fireworks. Just recognition. Two adults who looked tired in the same way. They talked about the weather. About kids. About how exhausting fundraisers were. Then their children found them. "Mom, can he come play?" Ethan asked, already holding Lily's hand. Mark laughed softly. "Looks like they've decided for us." That afternoon passed faster than either expected. They sat on the bleachers watching their kids chase each other, laughing freely in a way adults forgot how to do. Sarah felt something unfamiliar ease. She wasn't performing. She wasn't explaining herself. She was just there. They exchanged numbers for a playdate. Nothing more. First, that's all it was. Park visits. Pizza nights. School events where sitting together felt natural. Their children bonded quickly, as if they sensed something safe in the other adult. Lily adored Sarah's warmth. Ethan admired Mark's calm strength. Still, Sarah kept her guard up. Love had failed her once. She had rebuilt her life brick by brick, and she wasn't eager to risk knocking it down again. Mark felt the same. Loving someone new felt like betraying the memory of his wife. Grief had a way of convincing him that happiness was something he no longer deserved. But life has a way of gently insisting. One evening, after a particularly long day, Sarah broke down in her car outside Mark's house. She had just been told her hours at work were being cut. Rent was already tight. She didn't know how she would manage. Mark found her there. Tears streaking her face, shoulders shaking. "You don't have to do this alone," he said quietly. That was the moment the walls cracked. From then on, they really talked. About fear. About guilt. About the pressure of being strong for children who depended on them for everything. They didn't promise forever. They didn't rush. They simply chose honesty. Their biggest challenge came not from the outside world but from within. Sarah worried about letting Ethan get attached to someone who might leave. Mark struggled with the idea of opening his heart again only to risk loss. The turning point came when Lily asked Mark one night, "Daddy, are you sad when you smile?" The question broke him. He realized that protecting himself from pain was also protecting himself from joy. Sarah came to a similar realization when Ethan hugged Mark one day and said, "I like when you're here." Love didn't arrive with grand gestures. It came in shared dinners. in school pickups, in the quiet confidence of showing up every day. They chose each other not because life was easy but because it was hard and better together. When they finally admitted their feelings, it felt less like falling in love and more like coming home. They blended their families slowly, thoughtfully. There were tough conversations, moments of doubt, and nights where fear whispered old stories. But there was also laughter, healing, and a kind of love rooted not in fantasy but in resilience. Years later, on a summer evening, Sarah watched Mark teach Ethan how to ride a bike while Lily cheered from the sidewalk. She realized something profound. Love hadn't replaced her struggles. It had strengthened her for them. This wasn't the life she planned. It was better.